Hello, Bible readers. If you've heard my other posts, you know that chapters 25 to 31 are obviously an insertion of priestly materials put into the plot of God emancipating that mixed multitude and actively providing for them in the wilderness and then dynamically negotiating with Moses. It offers a very different image of God in chapters 25 to 31 than the one depicted otherwise, outside of those chapters. In chapters 25 to 31, that image of God requires a tabernacle where God can simply be, less doing and more, only being. You may also remember that the way the priestly material is laid out is a lot like the Genesis creation account was laid out. 7 speeches in Exodus from God that end up with a notion of Sabbath rest. Well, now that we come into the last chapters of Exodus, we pick up the priestly material thread again. As much as chapters 25 to 31 were about God's instructions for Moses, chapters 35 to 40 report that Moses obeyed those divine instructions to a T. This is important to the priests who wanted this included in Exodus. They wanted everybody to know that it is clear that Moses has been fully obedient to God and that a new habitat for God has been constructed according to God's own detailed instructions. Israel can be sure that Israel has an adequate and acceptable place for God to dwell, to be. There will be no whispering among the troops that, maybe God left us because, I don't think they certainly measured twice before cutting once. There's not going to be any of that. The priests don't want to hear it. Oh no, Moses did it as he was directed to do it. That's their point. So Brueggemann says, it's as though the priests cannot stop their commentary. Even after chapter 39, verses 32 to 42, which say, in this way, all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of the meeting was finished. But then there's more. In chapter 40, it finally ends by saying, so Moses finished the work. Wasn't it already finished? So in both 39:32 and in chapter 40, verse 33, this same verb gets used that we translate as finished. This is the same verb, interestingly, Genesis used twice to say that creation was complete. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude. And on the 7th day, God finished the work that he had done, and he rested. Genesis starts a tradition, an emphasis on saying God was done and done. I say something like this when I'm done bringing the last box off of a moving truck, or having washed the last window, or folding the last piece of laundry, like done and done, right? Like I'm not doing anymore. Jason out, peace. That's what Genesis is doing. It's saying God is done. Creation complete, peace. Well, remember, these priests are living in a context in exile when creation is deemed to be chaos and not good. The priests are trying to proclaim a new creation. The tabernacle is that new creation. Brueggemann explains the report of finishing the tabernacle is not simply a building report. It's rather intended to celebrate a major element in Israel's life, the adequate hosting of God's holiness in the midst of Israel. Long before Christians began disputing about the real presence of Jesus in Holy Communion, these old testimonies were preoccupied with God's real presence in the world. So our arguments about that are nothing new. The priestly imagination happily found a way to articulate and enact that possibility of divine presence in this tabernacle. So this is a pivotal point in Scripture because it won't be the last time that a new creation is claimed. When Jesus is dying on the cross, the Gospel of John writes that Jesus says, it is finished. That's right. Well, that's obviously rooted in the Genesis 7 days and the Exodus tabernacle account. In the death of Jesus, the divine work of reconciliation is complete. A new creation dawns again. And this is why we sing in one of Charles Wesley's most famous hymns, "Love divine, all loves excelling, finish then thy new creation, pure and spotless let us be." Christians believe in the already finished of God's work, that a new creation is begun with the finished work of Jesus. But we also claim there's a not yet. There's a not yet truth to what God is willing to finish, to accomplish. God's fullness is not yet known. Just look at the injustices and the brokenness of the world. Celebrating the "it is finished" of Jesus moves us to look for the yet to be finished of God in our future. That already but not quite yet tension that Christians are willing to live with, that is not present among the priests who wrote this part of Exodus. The tabernacle, is finished. And so God's presence is fully there. Done and done. My last Exodus post is next. One more about the glory of God, called The Arrival of Glory, chapter 40, verse 34. I am one with my God is with us, all of us at all times and in all places.